Oh boy. So, our favorite friend, Joe Biden, our wonderful dear President Joe Biden, came out swinging the other day to my dear red friends. And let me tell you, there were some things said in there that I had some thoughts about. For those of you who don't know, which you probably do if you're here, but for those of you who don't know, on this past Thursday, September the 1st, the very first day of September, on the very first day of September, and there's a wonderful year of our Lord, 2022, President Biden gets up with this really, really dystopian-looking background with these weird, shadowy Marines with their hands just being uncovered, their white gloves being exposed, and he gives this whole speech about unification and then proceeds to make the most disunifying speeches I've ever heard of in my entire life. He kept focusing on democracy. We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, which is a form of democracy, but we are not such a democracy. When he keeps saying the word democracy, people get like this great idea in their head of like the people leading, and that's great because that's what it is. But when they have this idea of the people that lead, it's not in the same way Joe Biden means it. It's kind of in the way of this kind of just mob rule where, you know, if there's more of us than there are of you, congratulations, buddy, you're screwed over. But we're a republic for that reason, because we elect representatives who maybe are a little bit more eloquent to fight for us on certain issues that we care about, right? But all of that is controlled by our Constitution, which he wanted to like play up that he was so big about in this speech. Well, Mr. President, was it in your constitutional jurisdiction in order for you to cancel millions and millions and millions, if not billions upon billions of student debt? Is that within your constitutional jurisdiction? Even Nancy Pelosi said you had no such thing. Where's the Constitution then? And don't even bring up the Constitution when you're talking about our right to defend ourselves with modern technology, because God forbid we all have to own muskets like the founding fathers intended. But, you know, good old Uncle Joe, he's all about that Constitution. He's all about making sure that we abide by what's written down in the book. Amen. And then he goes on and on and on about how he can't stand these like MAGA quasi-fascists, you know, like these extreme Republicans, which if you're here for long enough, you would know I'm not a Republican. I'm a registered Libertarian. I don't believe in the big lie. I'm not a person that cared about Donald Trump, didn't vote for him twice. You have to understand that when I'm coming and critiquing this about this, I'm not coming from a perspective where I'm loving and adoring Trump. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I was severely critical of him during his presidency, and my friends love me for it. But he goes on and he drones on about how they're so extremist. And mind you, we were using the word extremist about things like, terrorists. We were using the word extremist for things concerning those who were willing to take a life for some sort of political or religious reason. But no, people that simply disagree with you about certain political policies, those guys are just extremists. Those who stand on the ground of their belief. Even if I disagree with those beliefs as a person, me, Andrew, if I disagree with those beliefs, according to Joe Biden, those guys over there, they are extremists. Excuse me, what? If they're that bad of extremists, which means like they are out for blood, if you do not agree, they're out there for blood for race, religion, political ideology, whatever. If they're that extreme, why are you propping up such an extremist in my glorious home state of Maryland? For governor, the 2022 gubernatorial election is right around the corner here in Maryland. And they spent $3 million just on my guy alone to get it. Not by my guy, like specifically my guy, but the Republican candidate of my state. For governor, they spent $3 million to get this guy through the primary. If he's that dangerous, why the frick are you giving him 3 million schmackaroons? Also, this is just the reason why I say that, you know, the way that we do voting sucks. We need to move to ranked choice. Shout out to Alaska actually having a freaking brain in this country. No wonder they're so up at the top, because they are the brains of this country. Of course, just for this. They'll piss me off some like 2 weeks later. And if he's so concerned about true, genuine democracy, then why the frick are the Democrats gerrymandering the crap out of a ton of states? Maryland just had like a new electoral map redrawn. Oh my gosh, this thing looks like a child drew on a picture. Like they took a crown to a freaking wall and said, there's the state of Maryland and all your electoral districts. Have fun, guys. Now, mind you, he does say that not every Republican is a MAGA Republican. And you know what? I would agree with that. You have people like Liz Cheney, super critical of Donald Trump, all this stuff. You have people like Ben Shapiro, who like I could be wrong, but I'm like was supportive of Trump, but often critical in a lot of ways. I know he doesn't believe the big lie as well, so there's a lot of different people that maybe Joe Biden could work with, as he calls mainstream Republicans, but there are also a lot of these MAGA super they're gonna kill you type Republicans, right? Well, let's see exactly what he constitutes as these being the MAGA Republicans. He talks about these extremists as being those who will take away the right to choose. And I mean, even in the Libertarian Party, there's a massive divide as to who's pro-life, who's pro-choice. Pro-choice say the government shouldn't be involved in anything, and the pro-life Libertarians are like, the government has the responsibility to protect life. I have a video about this, somewhere on my channel. Go ahead and read up that as how one can be pro-life and libertarian. I don't think that it is oxymoronic, but what is freaking moronic is trying to say that those who stand on a pro-life position are suddenly extremists. He talks about the whole thing of no right to privacy, which is basically how the whole abortion argument was laid up for in the 14th Amendment, was that, everybody had the right to, they had a right to a trial because they had the right to prosperity, peace, to life, peace, the pursuit of happiness. I'm really blanking right now on exactly what it says, but they were trying to build that includes the right to privacy, and therefore that right to privacy includes the right to an abortion, and they kind of just hip-diddly-scopped all the way over to the right to an abortion in Roe v. Wade, which was overturned, a couple months ago. And Joe Biden's out here saying that this right to privacy is so ingrained in the Constitution. And here's the thing. I don't read that in the Constitution. I don't. Maybe some legal expert can tell me how exactly one can read that into the Constitution. But I don't read that in the Constitution. And even though it's not there, I think people have the right to privacy. You don't exactly just have the right to go snooping around, even if you're a high governmental power. Like, I just don't think that's polite, and I don't think you should do it. But I don't want to hear it coming from them. I don't want to hear it come from the Democrats. Are you serious? They're the same people. Wes Moore is a guy running for the Democratic candidate over here in Maryland. And this guy is out here saying that in order to propagate his sort of like racial diversification idea and his gender diversification ideas, that businesses will have to report the race, the gender, and the earnings of everybody in their business in the state of Maryland. It's asinine. It's crazy. We're literally sitting here chalking up people by their immutable characteristics. Things that keep people in change about themselves. We're chalking that up and putting it on a freaking Excel spreadsheet and sending it over to the governor, and for the government to be making judgment calls simply over people's race and gender. I'm sorry. I don't think that that's exactly anti-racist. I think that's perpetuating this us versus them mentality. And they're all about being anti-racist. And trust me, I want to be as anti-racist as possible. And so what does that conclude to? I treat everybody on an equal ground. You treat everybody on an equal basis. That whole thing of not being colorblind, that's stupid. Okay, you see color. But you should see color. You should embrace the color of people. You should celebrate people for who they are, what their history is, what their family history is. I think that that's a great thing. But then trying to make judgment calls as the government, saying, give me the list of all the races that you hire, and I will make a judgment call if you are doing a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, that's a breach to privacy. And quite frankly, it sounds a little authoritarian. It sounds a little racist. There's a lot of different things that this sounds like, and not a one of them is good. He talks about these MAGA Republicans supporting authoritarian leaders, and they do. A lot of these guys are out there making sure that you can't own the things you want. You can't love the people who you love. And trust me, I'm a conservative Christian. I have my opinions about a lot of different things, but I don't want the government involved in any of that crap because they never get anything right. Why should I trust them? If I can't even trust them to freaking pave the pothole that's outside of my house that has been there for the past month and a half, freaking take care of it, Baltimore County. If I can't even trust them to do that, why the frick should I even remotely consider why they should be involved with things like gay marriage, marijuana, or guns? Trust me, I don't want them involved in any of that. The Democrats want them involved in everything, but just in the opposite way the Republicans do. I think it's stupid on either side. They want to be so involved. They want to make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted to make sure you're doing the right thing according to what their prerogative is, instead of allowing people to choose. They don't want, the Democrats are so about pro-choice when it comes to abortion, but about literally anything else, they don't want you to choose. They want them to choose for you. They know what's best. Mama knows best. Freaking shut up and take your jabs. And then he goes on to say things like, they fan the flames of violence. What is this unification speech? This, I've not felt a single drop of unity flow through my veins this entire time. He goes on to mention the January 6th riots as if the Capitol is some sort of sacred ground that people have never touched before because, everybody in there is just the absolute most pure human being making the utmost good laws for the great citizens of the United States of America, bless God, acting like they just walked in and just desecrated it, when in reality it was desecrated by every politician that ever stepped foot in that building. But I digress. He wants to say that this is still like the biggest issue ever, even though literally it has no ramifications on today. Literally, I do not wake up and I sit there and I think, man, those January 6 people, they really could have almost ended this whole thing. It doesn't matter who was elected. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, you both suck. So we're sitting here trying to fan the flames of being like, these guys are dangerous. They're out to get you. Why do you think that is not like nonviolent speech? If we're sitting, and then he goes on later towards the end, he just kind of keeps repeating the same ideas over and over again. We have to defend democracy. We have to defend what? How do you defend things? How do you defend things? If someone busted through my front door right now, how would I defend things? You understand? Like, this is how you defend some things. There are some people out there who are out there to take stuff from you, and they will do so by force. Talking to them will not work. So how do you defend? Rock up, buddy. We're out the war. If he's so absolutely determined for this idea that MAGA Republicans are out there trying to just snatch your kid in the night and feed them to werewolves, then he has to also understand that what he's saying is a spur for reactive defensive violence. I'm not saying that Joe Biden's out there saying, string him up, but I am out here saying that maybe he should reconsider exactly the language he's using, because the language he's using is going to push people to do acts of violence they might not have done in the first place. He keeps using phrases like attacks on our democracy. We must defend this Constitution. We must defend these things we have. And I completely agree. But you can't immediately turn around and tell people you don't have the right to defend yourselves. You don't have the right to hold these weapons. How are they going to defend themselves against this group of armed idiots? This whole thing with Joe Biden, it's just cyclical of the Democratic Party. They want to tell you they restrict you. Republicans do something stupid and they're like, oh, the authoritarians, they're out to get your children. Oh my gosh, you're just as bad. I understand I don't like Republicans. I understand I don't like their ideology. I understand. You are no better. You are no better. If you hold to these policies where you sit there and think you can just throw money at everything and have an Inflation Reduction Act that actually does nothing to reduce inflation. If you want to do everything, just chuck a bunch of money at it and then nothing gets done, and then it just jacks up our taxes, jacks up our inflation, gets us ticked off. And then you want to sit there and say, now we're going to take your guns. But then the Republicans go off and say, I might ban marijuana. They're just always like, whoa, these guys are out to get you. These guys are out to throw you in prison forever. Oh, but we'll sign 87,000 more IRS agents to make sure that you're paying every dime you ought to, or else I swear to God, your family and your dog first is going to die. Again, I'm not a Republican. Again, I didn't like Donald Trump. Didn't vote for him twice. But this is the stupidest unification speech I've ever heard. Done by one of the worst presidents I've ever seen in my lifetime. Not a long lifetime, but still a lifetime nonetheless. And quite frankly, if this idiot gets anywhere in the 2024 election, I will be utterly shocked. And here's the thing. I don't even know if this helped or hurt him. Like, it might have hurt him for those who care. But the reality is, I didn't see like a single mainstream channel airing this speech during he had prime time speech time. And freaking the cooking channel was like, CNN was like airing like something about food or whatever the frick. Like, I don't think people care about this guy anymore. Even when he's up there with this freaking, first order background going on. No one bats an eye. No one gives a crap. And he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing for his extreme base to get riled up. But, they don't have guns. What are they going to do? Tickle to death with freaking Starbucks gift cards? I don't think so. It's like that Ouroboros where the snake just keeps eating itself over and over again. They keep calling out authoritarians when, I don't know, they're just like a vampire looking in the mirror. They can't see themselves. Like, you're the problem, buddy. You're the same problem. I don't know, man. Pray for these folks, man, because these people need it. These people need God. Find Jesus. If you had any thoughts about what I said, or about what the wonderful, glorious leader of our wonderful country, the unification of all the United States, and the glorious father of this democracy, then please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all next time.